All right, it is tea time. Let's call it Tech Tips with Tea. All right. So, this morning, someday I'll tell you about why I don't drink coffee anymore. But for now, I just want to tell you you can't change other people. You can only change yourself. Okay? Keep that in mind as you're applying to technical jobs, high tech jobs. Keep that in mind as you apply to positions because every time that you apply to a position, you have a chance to show people who you are and what you can do and the value you can bring for them. And sometimes they won't like that, and that's okay. And it shouldn't destroy you, even though you might feel like you're being destroyed. That doesn't change who you are. What you should do, though, is go back, get back into the market, and change who you are presenting yourself to be, either by learning new things and getting them on your resume, doing projects for people, whether it's family members, yourself, organizations, volunteer work, doesn't matter. Nobody's ever going to ask you how much you got paid to do that thing. You can also change the way you're applying, change some parameters. By doing this, you're changing how you're presenting yourself. One of the biggest keys that I've learned is how to present myself on screening calls, because in the past I was desperate. But one of the things that really stands out to in a screening call to a hiring manager or a recruiter is the way that you carry yourself and get some rapport. There was one time in my career where I applied to a position and I got done. It's one of the most embarrassing things I've ever done. And I'll tell you quickly what happened. A recruiter called me up, international recruiter. I've worked with them before, and I took the position. Took the interview, that is. I got on site. It was a little difficult to find the location of this company because they were inside the building of another company. It was a startup inside another kind of a tall tower. Not really a skyscraper, but maybe 14 stories high. And it was out in the suburbs, though. It was not downtown, the Twin Cities. It wasn't Minneapolis or St. Paul. It was out in the suburbs. So there weren't a lot of tall buildings around. So as I was driving, I was using GPS to get there, of course. It was maybe 8 years ago, maybe 10 years ago, 9 years ago. It might have even been sooner than that. I forget. But as I was driving out there, I saw the sign on the building, and that wasn't the right sign, but that was the address. So as I drove in and took the exit and navigated all the side roads, the only thing I see in front of me is that tall building. Of course, the company I'm going to meet with is in the basement, not the basement, the lower levels of that tall building. But on the tall building was the name of another company, a large company. And, but it wasn't a company that I knew was large. I'd never heard of it. So put all that together. When I sit down, finally get into the lower level of the building, and I'm meeting with 3 other people to see if I can help them with their mobile app, their iOS, iPad, and iPhone app. I'm talking and they're talking. We're building rapport, and I'm excited. To be honest, I'm excited. And during the conversation, I ask about the company. I name the company name. Tell me how long you've been with the company name. But I named the name of the company that's on the building. And I saw on their faces that they were a little taken aback. I don't know how else to say it. They weren't angry. They weren't mad. They were just maybe surprised. And they said, well, that's not our company. Our company is blank. And in my mind, I thought, that's right. That's the company name. But because I was kind of nervous. You're always nervous in an interview. You're trying to remember things. And I had only remembered the name of the company that was on the building. And both of these names were made up names. It wasn't like one company was, Miller Manufacturing, and the company I was interviewing for was, Awesome Computers or something. They were made up words, all right? And I won't go into details about these companies, what they were. So anyway, it was a mistake that I think anybody could make easily, okay? And I think they maybe got that a lot. I'm saying that because, I'll tell you the rest, but I'm saying that because I think it was very easy to slip up there and not know exactly the name of the startup. It was a weird name. All right, so anyway, get through the interview, and then they're like, would you like to see around? Now, I had been through 3 interviews that week and been on the company, the floors of the companies. And I'm just telling you this whole thing in case it encourages you or helps you in some way to be more focused and more open. Because I had been through 3 interviews and seen the companies, and often they'll take you on a tour of the location and the business, they asked, would you like to see the rest of the company? And I said, no, that's fine. It's really up to you. It's okay. And given the previous hour with 2 other people in the interview, it had gone really well. And so it had taken maybe an hour and a half. And so I turned it down. Now, 2 hours later, I get a call from the recruiter. And I trust this recruiter, and I hope he trusts me still. But I was excited to get the call. And when he called, he said, hey, I got some bad news. They thought you were really cocky, and they didn't like you. I was floored. I had never, ever gotten that kind of feedback. Not once in my life. About anything. Now, have I been proud? Have I been cocky in my life? I'm sure I know I have. This was not one of those times. This was not a time where I was I knew it wasn't one of the times. However, deep introspective thinking here. I had to change. Because when I got done with the call with the recruiter, the wrap-up call, I thought back, how did I come off cocky? And I think the reason I did was because I was so confident that things were going so well. And I've gotten so many contracts in my life at that time. I have experience on how that goes. I think that they perceived me as not trying, and that's because I didn't want to see the company, see the rest of the building. And it was like one more story up. And I think I hesitated, honestly, to go see the rest is because I was tired from doing all the others. And I know what it's always like. It's kind of weird to see people you might not ever see again and walk around the company floor and people kind of look, oh, they're taking a new applicant around. But they may be using that as a way to see how willing I am to work with the rest of the company and be impressed with their floor and what they're doing as a startup. So I don't know why God didn't have me get that position, but I think it was to get me to really, really learn what it is to be interested and focused on helping and bringing value to a place. So for you, a takeaway is, enjoy the entertainment of watching me tell a story of my failure. But for you, if you are looking to take interviews, you have a contract coming up, you are getting past the screening call, or you're being placed into an on-site or Zoom call, be so interested in them and what they're doing. You can show confidence, but be so interested that almost pretend that you are already working for them and already on their team. And of course you'd want to see this, and they'd want to share this with you. Of course you want to go see that. And double check the name of the company just because you do get nervous, if you've been to interviews, you know you get nervous, and review all of that ahead of time. So when I help people get into tech careers, it's one of the things I train them on. And when people are not able to get traction from 200, 300, 500 interviews, I talked to someone over chat 3 weeks ago. They had done 500 applications, not interviews, my bad. Applications, hundreds of applications. And yes, they tracked them, they said. It doesn't do any good to track if you're not taking notice that people aren't responding. You've got to change something about yourself. Change something about yourself and the way you're presenting yourself, either on paper, PDF, or in person. So that's what I have for you. Thanks for joining. And if you like this kind of content, maybe subscribe and give it a like and hit the bell so you'll know when I put out another Tea Time and Tech Talk. I hope you get the career you want. I'm here to help. Just keep watching the videos. And you know what? It's okay if you get rejected. It's just time to learn.